that Mr. Graham, Stedman Graham, and I were here 15 years ago in Asheville at the Biltmore, and we brought a conference to the state of North Carolina in 5 cities, and it was diversity, the new paradigm for diversity. And we were teaching, Stedman came in with the 9 steps, the new diversity, and we were teaching workforce leaders, workforce developers, human resources professionals, how to encumber a quality workforce of diverse cultures. And here we are 15 years later in 2020, we come back together again. Mr. Graham has just been a personal leader for me. I admire this man a lot. He has an incredible story. We thank him for his service to our country. And he has an incredible work of education, strategic education. In this new America, he came out with his new book in 2019. It's called Identity. We have an identity crisis in our society. And Mr. Graham is world known. And many of us know him by Miss Oprah Winfrey. He is a man in his own right. He has taught me so much along the journey at a very young age when I had no clue of my gifts and talents with radio, TV, messaging, broadcasting, television interviews. This man came in my life, and I know the Lord brought him in my life for that purpose, because I had a greater purpose in my life that I couldn't see at that time, but he saw it. And one thing I will share with the audience today is on this journey of this diversity tour in 2005, Mr. Graham's niece, Miss Tish Spalding in Atlanta, I love her dearly. When Mr. Graham asked me, he said, we're going to Asheville, to the Crest Mountain Center and to the Biltmore. I want you to be on stage with me. I want you to voice your understanding as you have learned. And I said, Mr. Graham, on stage with you, it was such an honor. I didn't feel equipped. And his niece, Miss Spalding, said, Francina, Uncle doesn't ask anybody to be on stage with him, so this is a privilege. And I count that a privilege today as one of those divine appointments in our life as we're on a journey to understand our what, why, when, where, and how. Mr. Graham has certainly been an influential leader for me in my life, and I'm sure he has others, but for me, it has been profound. And to have him here today, to bring about his vision. He has an incredible vision and an incredible story. And if you just listen to his passion for helping this next generation understand who they are and their identity, you'll learn a lot. So I'm going to not belabor him any longer, but he says, his quote is, identity leadership is the highest order of leadership. It is likely to become the different kind of leadership that is required in this 21st century. Are we ready? Are we prepared? Mr. Stedman Graham, please.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I hope everyone can hear me. I know we're using technology today because of the pandemic, and I certainly would like to be there, but unfortunately I'm not. But we're going to, again, do the best we can with what we have, and we have a lot. The title of this summit and this gathering is the New America, which is, wow, it really is the New America. It's the new America because we're dealing with climate change. It's the new America because we're dealing with the pandemic and COVID-19. It's a new America because we are dealing with racial tensions It's a new America because we are more conscious. We're getting a collective consciousness of people coming together, talking about the caste system that's been in place for 400 years. They're talking about injustices that we're dealing with in terms of the justice system. We're talking about the ability to create new educational opportunities in the new America. We're talking about, again, the ability to globalize our messages. We're talking about ways to, in the new America, ways to use technology as a way to deliver content anywhere in the world. We're talking about equality based on information and knowledge. Be ye transformed, as the good book says, by the renewal of your mind. We're talking about, changing our environment, our communities, empowering our communities, developing our communities. We're talking about being able to do business all over the world. And it requires a certain amount of leadership to do that. And the thing that I've learned throughout the years, more than anything else, is that leadership really is everything. I mean, if you take away the leader, you have an organization and you take away the leader, or you take away good leadership, you really have nothing. You have followers who are trying to figure out how it's going to work. You have young people who are basically mismanaged and kind of all over the place, and they have access to social media now, and so they don't really have the kind of leadership that's necessary to empower themselves and to create a life that will sustain themselves over a long period of time. They're pretty much lost. And so, I mean, I take this work very seriously. I am very fortunate to be able to teach identity leadership. My book came out May 6th, a new book called Identity Leadership, which is self-leadership based on the philosophy that you can't lead anybody else until you first lead yourself. And that's a major, major accomplishment, to be able to lead yourself and focus on the knowledge of self as a way to be accountable, as a way to understand the power of truth, as a way to understand self-actualization, Maslow's highest level of development. Are you able to self-actualize your potential? Do you have the skills? How well-bred are you? You know, what's your foundation look like? Where'd you come from? How do you carry yourself? How do you eat? How do you greet people? How do you have the ability to be able to sustain and navigate through all of the difficult situations that we actually go through? Are you able to last? You know, do you have the strength, a purpose? Are you strong enough? You know, the law of the jungle says only the strong survive. Are you going to be able to survive through all of this? And I would say that it's very difficult to survive through all this. You now have 50 million people who are unemployed, and probably more as we enter into this fourth industrial revolution, which is the IT age, which is the artificial intelligence age, which requires different skill sets and different abilities to be able to navigate through all of this that we're going through, and to actually be relevant. That is a big question. Are you relevant, and are you able to adapt? So we got to have some awareness about our own potential, and we got to have some awareness about who we are. We have to have some awareness about where we're going and what's possible for us. And we have to understand the world around us, but we first have to understand ourselves. And that's why I love the Identity Leadership book and to love the Identity Leadership message and the work that I'm doing every single day, I get a chance to kind of raise people's consciousness about who they are and where they're going and what's possible for them. And I go around the country. I have programs in schools. I have a 10-week course in schools, and I train teachers and train parents and train students at all different levels. So train in the corporate marketplace. And the thing that I really am saddened about, no matter where I go, and I do a lot of the training all around the world, in Amsterdam and China and various places, the thing that I'm saddened about is the fact that we have so many young people that will never have a chance. And we have so many young people that are so smart and that are talented. And basically, they don't have a process for self-actualization or self-empowerment, self-efficacy or self-discipline or self-accountability, any of that. And they're pretty much stuck. And I say young people, but I also say adults. We have millions of adults that are so smart and have so much talent and so much potential as a human being. And that will never be discovered because the system is kind of set up the wrong way. It's not really set up. When we talk about self-empowerment and self-development and self-actualization today, it's much different than it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we didn't really have to talk about, how to develop an identity and how to know who you are, because the community worked. People went to church, and we had a retirement system in place, and people had good jobs. We had lots of jobs available. They could take care of their family. Even if they didn't have an advanced degree, they could actually support a family of 5 and 7 people, and they could send them off to college and pay for their colleges. And they made a good living, and they had lots of work. They could have 2 or 3 jobs if they wanted to. And the community basically worked. Everybody looked after everybody else's child. Everybody was responsible for the beautification of the community. People took care of their properties, all of that. And so now it's somewhat changed. The 21st century now requires us to be self-directed learners, lifelong learners. It's moving very fast. Things are changing at a fast pace. They're changing more than our really understanding. We don't even understand what is changing. And so it's different today because, you may not even know your next door neighbor. You may not have a community representative. You may not be able to take control of your own development. You don't know, you may not be able to even, live in harmony in a community. And the leadership might not be that good. So today is different, and it requires a new kind of American thinking. It requires thinking. It requires building, developing, shaping, and designing your own future. And it is the kind of the you economy. So when we talk about the new America, we're talking about the you economy. It's about you. It's about how you work on you every single day. How do you become accountable based on knowing how to take information, education, make it relevant to your heart, to your soul, knowing who you are, transferring that to your mind so you become a thinking human being, and then transferring that to the American free enterprise system on the global market so you can create and design your own future. Are you capable of doing that? Can you build your own future? Can you design your own curriculum? Can you create your own learning process? Can you give yourself value? The value that you give yourself is the value the world gives you. The world sees you as you see yourself. It's all about creating value. And it's all about focusing on what you're good at and focusing on your talents and your skills and your abilities. So I'm saying all of this. But how do you actually do that? That's the question. It's really, how do you do that in an educational system where you go to school every day and you You learn how to memorize and take tests and repeat the information back. And you get a label with a grade, and 2 weeks later you forget the information. How do you do that in a school system where you're not learning anything and you're competing with social media as a way to determine, how much time you're going to spend on focusing on yourself? And everything's about the external world, and you're confused because we have so much information, all around us, that we're not able to focus that information on our own development. And now with the pandemic, where we're not getting proper instruction, for our students, because a lot of them may not be hooked up online, and online may not be the best way to sustain a learning focus over a long period of time, because you're having to look at a screen. So when we talk about the new America, being competitive in the 21st century, that's a very difficult thing to do. So if our educational system is not relevant, if we're not engaged in learning and development, then we're pretty much lost. And how many people are we losing today all around the world? We have 7 billion people who are pretty much, I think, lost because, like the gentleman mentioned last night at the event, reception, he talked about fixed versus growth mindset, which is, very important to understand this fixed growth versus growth mindset. We live in a fixed mindset, world. You got 7 billion people plus in a fixed mindset world who are hypnotized and are programmed to basically, they wake up in the morning, they wash their face, they brush their teeth, they get something to eat, they get the kids off to school, they work all day, they come home in the afternoon, they spend time with the family, they watch TV, they go to bed, maybe they dream. That's Monday. And a fixed mindset on Tuesday, you wake up in the morning, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you get something to eat, you get the kids off to school, you work all day, you come home in the afternoon, you spend time with the family, you watch TV, you go to bed, maybe you dream. That's Tuesday. In a fixed mindset where you have, billions of people around the world stuck, they get up in the morning, they wash their face, they brush their teeth, they get something to eat, they get the kids off to school, they work all day, they come home in the afternoon, they spend time with the family, they watch TV, they go to bed, maybe they dream. That's Wednesday. And on Thursday, they do the same thing. And on Friday, they maybe go to happy hour on Friday evening. And Saturday, they wash clothes and they get the kids off to activities, and they go to sporting activities. And Saturday night, they go out to dinner. And Sunday, they eat chicken dinners and they go to church and they get ready for work on Monday, and repeat that same thing over and over. And so if you did the same thing you did yesterday, as you would do today, as you would do tomorrow, what have you done? And the answer really is nothing. So the consciousness, understanding consciousness, which is being in the present and having some self-awareness about what your situation is like. If you're doing the same thing over and over every single day, which is nothing, understand that. You've already done it. You're not changing your paradigm. You're not doing anything different. You're going back to your old habits. You're hardwired to not create change because it's uncomfortable. And then everything you learn in school, you memorize and take tests, and you forget everything you learn. You're not learning anything. And nothing from nothing is nothing. So you have to rely on somebody else, on leadership, right? External leadership, to tell you what to do, whatever form that may come in, whether it's parents in terms of parent leadership, whether it's teacher leadership, whether it's school leadership or country leadership. You're relying on somebody else to define your existence. And the world is saying to you today, I got you. Listen, I still own you. You are still my slave. You are still a follower. You're not going anywhere. You can't do anything, but you're getting older, right? And you're being marginalized every single day because I want you, and I'm going to make sure, the world says to you, I'm going to make sure you buy into the program because I need to control your social economic development. And so the world defines you. It plays games with you, and it puts you with us, and it puts us in a box. it creates these socially constructed boxes. And the first box for me was, it put me into a race-based consciousness, and it puts us into a box that's labeled by our race and by our color, that tells people of color that you can't make it because of the color of your skin. And it took me a long time to realize that. I worked for a guy named Bob Brown in North Carolina. Francina knows Bob. And it took me about 31 years to realize, oh my goodness, it's not about race, because I grew up in this all-black town surrounded by a white county where they said nothing ever good comes out of Whitesboro. And we have a lot of good that came out of Whitesboro, great towns founded by George H. White, former congressman. And so, you get programmed by that. And it took me 31 years when I was traveling around with Bob, and we're all over the world, and I saw people of color making things happen and who were very successful. And I realized, oh, this is not about race. This is not about, the color of your skin. What this is about is that you don't know who you are. You have no identity. And so you're defined by that. And then you're defined by your house and your car, and your religion, and you're stuck in a box and labeled by that sometime. And women are often defined by not their relationship, but women are often defined by the fact that they're told that they can't make it because it's a man's world. And so they buy into that. And that's wrong. You can't make it because you don't know who you are. And so you're defined by that. And you're defined by family. And I grew up with two special need brothers. I talk about that all the time. And that had a major effect on me, where I grew up with low self-esteem and a lack of confidence in myself. And I had no sense of who I was as a person. I didn't understand the power of information and knowledge. And I didn't understand the ability to be able to think. I didn't understand how to do that. And so when you don't know how to think, man, that's a tough situation. You just you go along with the robotic way that you're living. You're just going to school. You're trying to get the degree, get out. And I was told, get a degree, got that, go to college, did that, played ball, did that, did all of those things I was supposed to do. But I never really had control over my existence. I grew up with low self-esteem, a lack of confidence in myself, and I didn't realize that there's a process for success. And so you're defined by the external world. And again, I'm defined by family. I'm defined by my brothers. I'm defined by basketball. I'm defined by my community. I'm defined by my color. And later on in life, I met a woman. Her name is Oprah. She's an extraordinary woman. I'm so fortunate to be in a relationship with her, as a life partner. And early on in my life, about 30s, I'm in a relationship with her, and I'm defined by my relationship. And she, we started off, she was in news early on, and I met her in Chicago, and she became this, all-world person. And I'm in a relationship with a very powerful woman. And every time I step out the door, people define me by my relationship. And so, so I understand what I'm saying is I understand labels. I understand programming. I understand socially constructed boxes where people, play with you and play with your mind, and the world plays with you. And what I learned from all of this is this. It's not how the world defines you. The most important thing is how you define yourself. Do you have the tools to define yourself? Do you understand how to take information, like I said before, organize it, build it, create it, right? And apply it to your own development? Do you have the ability to create self-mastery in your life, where you can focus on yourself despite what people define you as? Because whoever you turn your power over to define you will always define you as less than them. So if you're looking for freedom in the new America, you'll never find it on the outside. Freedom is only on the inside. And it's a small step process. You got to work on it every single day, because oftentimes we're defined by our circumstances, not our possibilities. And we're stuck in that box, that historical box, living in that household for how many years, being programmed by our parents, by our mother, our father. And those are programs that we're kind of stuck with. And they're hardwired. They're in our unconscious, which runs our whole life. And you don't even know it. Every time you sit down and you get relaxed, you go back to your unconscious. And so if you don't read, if you're not a learner, if you don't create opportunity around the technology and knowledge and information that we have access to, you're out. You're not going anywhere. So identity leadership tries to get you to understand the process of how to do that. There is a thing called success process. And when I learned that there's a process for achievement, there's a process for success, and I realized, okay, the difference is between the 1% and the 99% is that the 1% understand that there is a process for success. And if they follow that process, they can create anything that they want to do. They can do anything that they want to do. And when you're in the greatest country in the world, which is America, this is the greatest country in the world. And you have access to all the resources, and now we have access to technology as a way to deliver content and to communicate with people anywhere in the world in a matter of seconds. And we have the ability to use e-commerce, like Jeff Bezos has done, and other people have done, Microsoft and these other companies and Apple and all these people have done to make an impact in their organization. I mean, the ability to be able to do that is just extraordinary. And so we have the same opportunity. That is the equalizer. So how do you do it? How do we do it? Let's talk about identity leadership for a minute. Identity leadership, if you had to define it, is self-leadership. It's based on the philosophy that you can't lead anybody else until you first lead yourself. What does that look like? Well, leading yourself. Well, I lead myself every day. No, you really don't. You're stuck in your old habits. You're stuck in your old routine. You don't have a process of continuous improvement. You're really not going anywhere. You're doing the same thing over and over every single day. You have a mind, your thinking is off. You don't really work on your thinking. You really don't read any books. You don't learn anything new. You're just in a survival mode every single day. You're like everybody else, and you're defined by the outside world based on, how they label you. And so the first step and the foundation of developing and building and creating is that you have to have an identity. So the first step in the 9-step success process, which I've been, dedicated my life to teaching these steps to people all over the world. It teaches them how to self-actualize their potential. Maslow's highest level of development is self-actualization after food and safety and all of those things he talks about, which basically most people will never get to because we're in a survival mode all the time. The first step is that you have to have an identity. And that's based on the most powerful word in the world. Now, if you get this word, you can change your life. If you get this word, you're able to transcend race and your background and your circumstances. If you get this word, your life will all of a sudden instantly start to be better, and you'll start to grow and develop and grow and develop. And the word is love. The foundation of identity is love. You only have 2 choices in life. You have good or bad, will or won't, can or can't, looking at the glass half empty or half full. So love it represents your passion. It represents a meaningful life. It represents looking at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. It represents purpose. It represents possibilities. It represents your ability to be able to achieve success based on your imagination. See, it's simply put on a piece of paper, writing everything down that you love. And this is what I learned. And then being able to take information and make it relevant to what you love so that you can empower yourself every single day based on what is possible for you. So love is the key word here. Like I said, there's only two choices. There's love or hate, good or bad, will or won't, looking at the glass half empty or half full. That's all you have. And your energy follows, good energy follows love and passion and purpose. Bad energy follows negativity, can't do, bad attitude, anger, and all of that. Only two choices in life. It's a very simple process. And so if you choose love, the law of attraction says whatever you put out, you're going to get back. You get out what you put back. So imagine if you have a mindset that all you think about is what you can't do. And it's in your unconscious and it just rules you. And you have no ability to change that because it's so deeply ingrained in layers and layers and layers of pain and trauma and negativity. And you don't know how to get out of it. And you keep going back to that because there's no interruption, there's no disruption, as the word is today. You're not disrupting anything. You're not disrupting your thinking. You're not disrupting your anger. You're not disrupting your rage. You're not disrupting your pain. You're not really working on it so that you can become better. So you keep going back to that pain and anger and that rage. And if you know anything about anger, I do a lot of work in the prison system. And because I worked in the prison system 5 years, I didn't say I was in the prison system 5 years. I worked in the prison system 5 years. And so I now work with prisoners and train correctional officers and all of that in identity leadership work. And so the anger that I see in these prisons and the rage, and I realized that, oh, okay, that's why you're in here. It's because, you can't control your rage and anger. You can't control your attitude. And so love, identity, if you can organize all the things that you love, that's really who you can become. That's really who you are. And that's what I see when I see everybody's possibilities. I don't care who they are. I see that what's possible for them because I know that they can instantly change their mindset and their thinking around if they can focus on love as a way to organize those things that they can do and those talents and those skills and those abilities and then work on them and practice them every single day so you can be an expert in your field. And then people pay you for your value. Again, the value that the world gives you value based on how you see yourself, on how you see your own value. So you're working on that value every single day. Okay, yeah, we got that. First step, got that. So that's our motivation. That's what motivates us every single day. All of us are equal. Remember this, that because all of us have 24 hours. You have the same 24 hours I have. So to take that 24 hours that I have and that you have and to focus on love as a way to create what you can create based on your talents and your skills, all of us are equal because we have 24 hours. The question is, do you have the will to prepare? Success is when preparation meets opportunity. Are you driven? Okay. Are you focused? Right. And can you create a model, right, that's relevant to your development? Identity, got it. Second step, you have to have a vision. Now, vision is really important today because we have such a big opportunity with technology. So you should be able to visualize, where the marketplace is going. We have a global marketplace today. We can communicate with people all over the world. So vision is kind of your structure. You want to visualize not where you came from and what your background was like or what your family situation was like, whether good or bad, bring the good stuff forward, leave the bad stuff behind. You want to create a new paradigm. You want to create a new program for yourself. You want to create new goals. You want to be able to set forth a new vision in this new America, right? That's relevant to you. So you want to customize your program. You got 3 systems in place. You got an average system, which I talked about, with a fixed mindset of doing the same thing over and over every single day. You go to school, you graduate with a degree, you come out, and you can't find a job. And you still don't have the skills and training to be able to be competitive in the 21st century. Then the other system you have is you have a failed system, which is basically you don't read, you may not have the functional literacy skills to compete. You basically are kind of on the bottom. You can't access the American free enterprise system. You didn't finish high school. You don't have a degree. You don't have any really specific things that you do well that will allow you to get a job. You don't interview well. Communication skills aren't that great. You're listening to cultures that take you out, gangland cultures that take you out. You're mad, you're angry. That's a failed system, bar none, okay? And the system I'm talking about is an advanced system. The system I'm talking about is the system that allows you to customize your own talents and your own abilities, to create a vision, for where you want to go, to be able to overcome your obstacles, something that you work on every single day. This is an advanced system, okay, that's tied to a process and a routine that you can improve. So you can create a process of continuous improvement based on this new system that's customized for you, that you're actively thinking about. And you're thinking, and you're in the present when you think. You're not in the past. You're not necessarily too much in the future, but you're making everything relevant to who you are. This is an advanced system. So part of that advanced system is vision. You got to have a vision. Third step is you got to have a plan. What's the plan look like? Can you organize the plan? Can you write it down? Can you make it happen? Can you apply a planning program to yourself, to your family, to your legacy? What's your life going to look like in 10 years? Have you planned for that? What's it going to look like in 20 years? Have you planned for that? And then what are you doing on the front end to prepare for where the marketplace is going? Not where you are. I could care less about where you are. I'm concerned about where you're going. And what does that look like? And are you able to organize that in such a way that you can develop a process? You can organize metrics around that. You can set goals around that. You can, figure out what that looks like, and you can work on the small steps, and you can create details around that. Fourth step, master the rules of the road. Your guiding principles. What are they? Well, those are universal principles that apply to everybody. Trust, man. If I can't trust you, I don't know how you're going to advance to the next level, because nobody trusts you. And then they pass the word and say, we don't trust you, and you're not accountable. And so we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. But at least if we are aware that the universal principles in place have to, you got to have those principles. Trust. You got to be a hard worker. If you show up at a job and you don't want to work hard, and you want to try to get over all the time, and you slick all the time, and you don't want to put the effort into it. Well, we recognize that too. The world recognizes that, and they put you in a category. They say, well, they're a halfway worker. They, and they're not really going to try that hard. They give up real easy, that kind of thing. What we're looking for today in the 21st century, when you talk about the new America, we're looking for self-directed learners. We're looking for people who you don't have to tell everything to do. We're looking for leaders, not followers. And we're looking for people who have the ability to improve themselves based on, again, this self-directed process that we need to have in place in order to be competitive in the 21st century. Otherwise, we're not competitive as a country, compared to other countries. Another rule of the road is determination, perseverance. Okay, step 5, step into the outer limits, overcoming your fears. Wow, the fear thing is huge. And Maya Angelou, who I've known for years, and it's mother friend to Oprah, said courage is the greatest of all virtues, because without courage, we do nothing. So you got to have the courage to be able to overcome the obstacles. And in today's pandemic, where we have to change, create a whole new normal. And in a lot of cases, it's very uncomfortable because you're stuck in one place. And so our ability to overcome those obstacles, to overcome things that we're dealing with every single day, and to understand the barriers to success. And we have to ask ourselves, what are the barriers to our success? I go through that all the time. What keeps me from what's in my unconscious that I have to work on so I get beyond that barriers? I got to reprogram myself. I got to have a new program all the time in every area of my life. See, in every area of your life, you can create a new purpose. It's just not one area of your life. It's all the areas. It's health, it's family, it's work, it's speaking in my case, it's traveling, it's technology, it's building a technological platform to deliver your content worldwide. And so all of these areas that now we have to work on, what are our barriers? What do we have to work on? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And we have to have some self-awareness around that. Step 6, pilot the seasons of change. It's not so much what happens to you, but how do you respond to it? That's an important thing, because we're going through that right now. We're going through tough times right now. We're going through difficulty economic times right now. We're going through social, we have to deal with social distancing and not seeing family and all of that right now. We're going through a lot of changes. It's not going to last forever. So do we have the capacity to deal with those changing circumstances? How strong are you? And now it requires mental toughness. Mentally, are you preparing yourself to be able to deal with the obstacles and changes that we are facing every day? And the key word here is adaptability. All your great leaders and all your strong people and all your successful people understand how to adapt. Regardless of what the situation is, they're flexible. They're able to adjust. They're like water, they just flow. Regardless of the circumstance, they're not angry. They don't get upset with everything. They just kind of let things go by, and they use their brain. They use their thinking to think about, how to deal with this particular issue and changes that they are going through every single day. And so the thinking is different. See, you're not focused on your emotional base as a way to guide your thinking. Your emotional base is one thing, your thinking is another thing, to be able to align them with a consistent roadmap, being able to, have a vision that you can consistently build that goes in a straight line so that you're not all over the place. You're over here and you're over here, and you're over here, and you got 15 different thoughts and you can't get one thing done, right? You're not focused on anything. You're not building anything. There's no clarity around what you're doing. You can't explain it. Your communication is off. Okay, you haven't taken the time to prepare yourself for the future and the marketplace, and so you're not even prepared when changes come. And our lives are so disruptive because we don't focus on preparation as a way to prepare ourselves for what may come or what's going to become in the future. Dealing with changes. Step 7, great step. Build your dream team. Got to have a team. No one makes it alone. No man or woman is an island unto themselves. You have to have your team. And your team is always predicated on how strong or weak you are. The law of the jungle says only the strong survive. So when you're strong, guess what? People recognize that. And they are attracted to you because you have the strength. And they say, and you are clear on your vision and where you're going. And they want to be a part of that vision. See, vision is powerful because, people, leaders are people of influence. See, they are able to get people to follow them and be a part of their vision because they They have the spirit of their conviction, and they're intense about it, and they're consistent about it, and they build on it. And so building a team around that, it's just a beautiful thing. We're in the team building age today. What's your team look like? You have a strong team or a weak team. Who is a part of that team? And are you able to build that over a long period of time? Are you consistent with your building of your team? Are they talented? Are they smarter? Okay. Are they stronger than you? So you want to build a strong team to try to be competitive today so that we are able to maximize our potential based on who we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. Eighth step is really a win by decision is your eighth step. So basically that is one of my favorite steps. And it really kind of changed my life. And what changed my life is understanding the power of learning. I mean, when you learn how to learn, I wasn't a learner. I wasn't really a thinker. I wanted to be a basketball player, pro ball. I played European pro ball, which is fantastic. But, I didn't play in the NBA here. And I was focused on that, but I wasn't focused on the power of education and knowledge, which really would have helped me in basketball in my skill development because it would have taught me how to really think. And so the power of information and knowing how to take that information and apply it to your development, knowing how to take that information and make it relevant to who you are as a person, transfer it to your mind so you become a thinking human being, and then transfer that to the American Free Enterprise System or the global market so you can create and design your own future. That's what I learned. I got that. And so I'm able to, if I can control my emotions, right? Emotional base. If I can go from negative to positive in my mindset, if I have the information and the knowledge and the skills and I overcome the labels, I'm not defined by race and not defined by background, not defined by family, not defined by my relationship, and I can work on that every single day to maximize my potential based on who I am. So you don't tell me who I am. I tell myself who I am. I don't give you permission to define my existence. You see, I don't turn my power over to the external world. I take responsibility for my own life and my development. And I'm working on that every day. I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it every day so I can develop a process of continuous improvement so I can get to the ninth step. And the ninth step is commit to your vision. And we're talking about making a commitment to all the things I just talked about. Are you able to be consistent today? Consistency is a big word. Are you relevant today? Are you able to organize yourself? This is an organizational process. That's why I love the 9-step success process, because you get a chance to organize you. So if you can't organize you definitely can't organize anybody else. And so we get to organize a whole lifestyle, create a whole lifestyle around our existence, which is like a gift. This is a gift, okay? Doesn't happen to everybody else. It's an advanced system that allows you to co-create with the normal system in place, right? With the American Free Enterprise System and the global marketplace, that system, it allows us to co-create with who we are, add value to ourselves, organize our talents and our skills, organize what we do, our purpose in life, and then share that purpose with ourselves, right? Enjoy ourselves, then with our family, right? Empower our family based on information. And you can break the cycle. You could be the one that breaks the cycle, right? Because that's what leadership is being able to lead other people in different places based on the influence that you create in your own life. And you can share that, right? So we're talking about servant leadership, right? As a way to serve the world based on the value that you're getting. Money is just a tool. You're not going out to, I'm going to make a lot of money. That's not going to happen. Now, if you create a lot of value, right? If you create value and if you fulfill a need in the marketplace, people will pay you a lot of money fulfilling that need. But if you're just out trying to make money, you will probably never make any money. Money is just a tool to enhance what you love and what you're passionate about. So that is the 9-step success process. And I'll end it with this. this poem, which kind of represents all the things that I'm talked about. It's called Invictus, and I love this poem. And it says, it's by William Ernest Henley, and it says, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstances, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years shall find me, and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Graham. What a powerful message. I enjoyed that so much. And I think we have a few questions for you, Mr. Graham.
Sounds good. Francina?
Yes, good to hear you. You're such a great speaker. In the 21st century, in this new America today, your leadership by example is so profound. And I'm so glad our audience is able to hear that message. And thank you so much. And I think we have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Ms. Graham, can you tell me a personal story from your experience, like when you learned about identity leadership and what it kind of got you going forward in your work today and what you've done for the community for so many people all across the globe?
Well, I would say that, I had a defining moment in my life when I grew up. I was in this all black town surrounded by a white county where nothing ever good comes out of Whitesboro. And we had one store in our town. And the guy that owned the store's name was Mr. Tate. And growing up in my life, I was basically, grew up with low self-esteem, a lack of confidence in myself. And basketball was kind of my only way out. There's no question I would have been not just working in the prison system, but would have been a prisoner in that system with all the rage and anger that I had. And so this was a kind of defining moment in my life that kind of got me started. And so I'm a bragger. I know I'm going to go to college. I'm getting scholarships from all over the country, UCLA, Harvard, a lot of different places. I didn't really qualify. I had to go to junior college early on. I didn't really qualify because my grades were just average. And so, I distinctly remember this story, and it's the story of my life. And it is where I'm down at his store. He's the only store owner in the town, and we're hanging out there every Saturday, and we're going to Mr. TA's, and we're so glad to be able to go there and hang out. And so I'm a bragger. I see Mr. TA behind the counter. I know I'm going to go to college, so I look at him and I say, Mr. TA. I go up to him and I say, Mr. TA, guess what? I'm going to college. And Mr. TA looks at me and I never will forget that look. And he says to me, and I'm thinking he's going to say, we're so glad that you're going to college. Congratulations. You got out of this town. Great for you. He says to me, Stedman, you're not going to no college. Your family's too stupid and you're too dumb. And you can imagine, the hurt that I had when he said that. Here's an adult that I look up to, only store in town. We go there all the time. I'm teased by all of these folks. I'm fighting every single day, my peers, students and everything else, fighting every day because they're calling me names. I'm growing up with a lot of shame and low self-esteem, a lack of confidence. And so he says to me, you're not going to no college. Your family's too stupid and you're too dumb. I get mad and I say, you know what? I'm walking home one day. I got mad. I stopped in my tracks and said, I'm going to get you back, Mr. TA. I'm going to college and I'm going to get my degree. And I'm going to bring it back to you and I'm going to show you that I'm somebody. And that's really the story that kept me in school. We come back late at night from these traveling road trips, playing ball at the university, Hardin Sims University. We throw our bags down and everybody else would go to bed. I'd be the only one that stayed up all night long studying for that test because I didn't care anything about basketball. The only thing I cared about is I had to get that degree and bring it back and show Mr. TA. Mr. TA, somebody. And I finally graduated, got that degree, got my master's degree, served in the U.S. Army, played ball in Europe. So that was the defining moment that started this whole process of looking for equality and looking for freedom and looking for, the ability to be able to define my own existence.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Hi, Mr. Graham. Appreciate your message today. I spoke this morning on servant leadership, and I can trace my foundations in leadership, education, as well as experience. I started out in the Army with basic training in the Army, and being a glutton for punishment, went to the Air Force Academy and got to start over with basic training and go up there.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, my brother.
Back to you as well, sir. When I got out of the military, joined A.G. Edwards, and they had also world-class training on the civilian side of things. So I've experienced, military, civilian. I've experienced world-class training in a lot of different ways, and I can look back in my past and I can see the examples of leadership that I wanted to follow, the examples of leadership I didn't want to follow, and that's what built a lot of the philosophies that I have based on leadership. And you and I actually touched on a lot of similar themes today. So I was curious if you can point to your own road of leadership. What would you say is most foundational in your understanding of leadership?
Well, most foundational was to discover love as the foundation for everything, as the foundation for change, and working on that in terms of attitude change, in terms of thinking, in terms of organizing, what's relevant to me, what makes me happy, what's meaningful in my life. And so to discover that as the foundation for transformation. There's two choices. There's transformation and transactional. So a lot of times we're transactional. We just go through the transactional situation and do what needs to be done, but we're not transformational. And transformation always starts with love. So to understand that and be clear on that, and to work on every single day changed my life.
Absolutely. And clearly we both have a very similar background. So thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, Mr. Graham. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jay Downhauer. I host a podcast where I had Francina on as a guest. I did that in addition to my everyday job. So I understand kind of where you're coming from with the build your own brand. You wrote a book in 2002 called Build Your Own Brand, which is amazing because it seems so ahead of its time at that time. How have your thoughts evolved in the age of 1 billion Instagram users? And where do you think this is all going in, say, the next 15, 20 years? Do you think it's going to continue to be as democratized as it is now? Do you think there's going to be ultimately some consolidation about this ability to basically put yourself out there, build your own brands, and really, make a name for yourself?
Well, I think that people, it's going to have to go back to identity. It has to go back to your purpose in life. And, you're not going to be able to build anything. I don't care how much information you have or how much access you have in terms of technology. If you're using the information as a way to focus on the external side of your life, if it's not internally developed, it doesn't mean anything. And content is everything. So if you take away the content, you have nothing. So, content, like they say, is king. So our ability to be able to use content and make it relevant to our development, that's the game changer. And discovering who you are, it's an easy thing to say. We hear discover who you are, get your own, find your purpose, all of that. You know how difficult that is? To create that and build a brand around that, then you know how difficult business sometimes can be, becoming an entrepreneur where you have to make your own money, you have to monetize it, you got to set up a structure and a routine you can follow, and then you got to be able to lead that. You know, you got to be able to, I remember Howard Schultz at Starbucks, you know, he left the company and for a while, and the company started going down. Starbucks started to go down. He had to come back because he had to be the driver. And people go back to their old ways and they get very comfortable and they really don't self-actualize their potential because that's difficult to do because we're so stuck in our unconscious. So you can talk it. We all we can talk the good game, and you know, we have information and we can be hypnotized by the social media and Instagrams and all the stuff like that. But in the end, you got to be the driver. You got to be able to have a conviction based on what you want to create, and you have to create it. It doesn't create by itself, and that's why leadership is so very important.
Hello, Mr. Graham. This is Demetrius. I was wondering on your 9 steps, have you ever lost like focus? What's the biggest challenge kind of getting right back on, getting focused to continue your 9 steps?
Well, the 9 steps is a process that teaches you how to organize your life around yourself. And so it requires focus. I mean, you know, that's what you want to be able to do is you want to figure out what is it that you do well? How do you organize that? It's not one thing. Today, you want to create something that has multiple streams of income. Okay, so you want to look at all of the different ways that you can leverage. A key word here is leverage. Are you leveraged? And also a key word here is you. You know, do you have the skills and the ability to make things happen? You know, are you consistent? Can you do it every day? Are you scalable? Can you create the model? You know, what's that look like? Does it have value? And things constantly change. So can you stay on the cutting edge? So there's a lot of different things that you have to, again, organize, but you want to organize it when you talk about focus, organize it around the core of who you are. It's not the answers, it's the questions. That's why, you know, who are you? What's your vision? What's your plan? What are your rules of development? What's your dream team look like? And so you got to be able to answer that and then apply that to a process that allows you to create a system for sustainability based on, not based on, but that is connected to the core of who you are. So you keep going back to the core to try to get better.
Mr. Stedman, Graham, thank you so much for being here, and thank our participants. Is there another question? Okay, no other question. Okay, thank you for being here, your time. I admire what you're doing. You've blessed my soul today, and I see the faces and of others here. You're continuing to add value to our next generation. It's up to us. It's up to all of us to lead by example. So thank you so much for today. Blessings to you. And if you have a final word to say to the group, please do so. But we look forward to our continued work. And I think our next seminar is in Florida. So we'll talk to you soon about that. And thank you so much. And God bless you.
Thank
and
you
your
so
family
much,
for
Francina.
being here and still caring about our next generation. Because you could be anywhere in this world doing anything you want to do at the highest level, but you choose, which is what I admire about you. You choose to pay it forward and enrich our next generation of leaders, our college students, sports, arts, and music. Thank you. I'm passionate about this, as you know. And thank you for all you've influenced and embedded in me through the years to help me get to where I am today, to know who I am and my purpose. So thank you, and let's stay tuned, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Francina, for everything.
Thank you.
And thank all of you.
Thank you. Last words?
All I can say is the last 3 words. 3 words. Don't ever forget these 3 words in your life. And they are: work on yourself.